Hi, everyone. It is January 8th, Monday at 8 p.m. And this is Sheneè your hostess of Sheneè Shares Live. I'm so excited because we had a little break. Okay, got some time to spend time with family during the holidays, but we are back with two dynamic guests. So, those of you who have been tuning in the last few months know what I'm about to do. If you're new to this and you're just tuning in, just get used to it because I'm about to practice what I preach. I need you all at this very moment to share. Okay, share with your other social media friends, share on text message, whatever platform you are on, please share because we want to make sure that as many people as possible can tune in. I like catching the replay, but it's nothing like that live feeling and that engagement of talking to people in the audience. Also, if you are with me, please put in the comments, Sheneè, it's me, okay? We definitely want to acknowledge you as well. So you all know what I'm about to do. I'm about to practice what I preach, grab my phone, and I am actually going to go in and drive people crazy, say, why is she always putting stuff in my inbox? Because I want them to watch my show. All right, so I'm going to go to Sheneè Shares. Y'all see this? I'm actually doing it. Going to Sheneè Shares, and I'm going to share. All right, Sheneè Shares, so that's what she's doing. So getting a few people sharing it, tell them to come and tune in because I have two special individuals, ladies at that. Y'all know I'm all for women empowerment. Men, y'all can tune in too. However, it's about the ladies tonight. Here we go. Somebody saying I'm on. Okay, thank you. All right, sharing. That's what y'all doing. Thank you all. All right. So before we introduce our first person, let me just tell you that I am excited about these two individuals. One I've known for quite some time. Those of you who know the history of Sheneè, myself, know I used to have a magazine. She was actually one of my content editors for one of the other magazines. The other person I actually just kind of met. We're actually having our first real conversation today, so I'm excited about that. Y'all know I'm a social butterfly. I love meeting new people, so I'm excited to have her because she actually is an advocate for something that is near and dear to me as well. So when I found that out, I said, oh, gotta have her on because that's along the lines of something that I've experienced myself. But I'm gonna let her share all that with you, and I'm gonna bring her on right now. But before we do that, someone went on and commented. Hi, Tim. How are you? Thank you. It's me. I'm glad. I'm glad it's you. Anybody else, please comment. Again, y'all know I love. Oh, Ashley. Okay. Hi, Ashley. My old employee when I used to work at Linwood. Thank you for tuning in. However, we are now going to bring on the lovely Leah Forney. How are you? Oh, she for visibility activator. I love that. Y'all, that's a whole good thing. Let me tell you how I am about branding. Making sure that your name sticks out. I have never seen that before. So I love it. I love that. And Kelly is saying hi from my boy from B-More. Hello. Saying hello to you. Let me tell you, she's from Baltimore too. So we're going to have a moment here, y'all. We're going to have a moment. Even though I'm residing in Virginia right now, but yeah, Baltimore's still my home. Only been here 2 years, so it's not enough to say, hey, I'm from here, but no, Baltimore is my heart. So how are you, my lady? How are you?
I'm good. I'm super excited to be with you tonight.
Me too. Well, first I want to just right there. That's really getting. I love that visibility activator. Talk to me about that. Where did you come up with that tag, that name? That is some good branding right there. I love it.
Yeah, so let me just tell you real quick. I hate the word coach. I feel like it's such an overly saturated word. And so people kept saying to me, oh, Leah, you're a coach. And I was like, nah, I'm more like an activator, right? Because I truly believe that we all have what God has given us on the inside of us. And sometimes he has to send somebody like a midwife alongside of you, or a cheerleader, or
Ooh.
an activator, to kind of pull out what's already in you. And so when I think about my role as a visibility activator, is really I'm teaching the women that I work with how to activate what's already on the inside of you. You already know how to show up. You already are the expert. Like, you know what to do. I'm just coming alongside and kind of being that midwife and saying, let me just activate what God has already placed on the inside of you. So that's kind of my fancy way of saying I'm a visibility coach without really calling myself a coach.
The word. I love it. I love it. I'm telling y'all, this is like huge. Y'all don't understand. If anybody that's into branding and marketing stuff, pay attention to this. Okay. She said everybody is using one particular word, and everybody's a coach nowadays. And she said, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna do something different.
Everybody.
However, I'm coaching you, but at the same time, I'm just already pushing what's already inside of you. It's already there. Okay. Because I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
However, you're also a podcaster. Like, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up. And you have
Yes.
so how did that come about of saying, hey, I'm also starting a podcast?
Listen, Shenee, let me tell you, everything I do comes from God. I promise you. So literally coming into 2021, God said to me, it's time to start a podcast. Like, from 2017 to 2021, people knew me as an author. And so he was like, it's time to start a podcast. And I was like, I don't know nobody in the podcasting space, but I'm going to be obedient if you say this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I started kind of researching how to get into podcasting. I'm that person that has the gift of gab. I always tell people I was the kid that got home report cards that said Leah talk too much. And now I feel like God uses me to get paid to talk too much. And so literally I started the podcast, out of a vision that God gave me. And literally I didn't know what to call it, right? I knew we were in the middle of a pandemic. I said, okay, well, what do the people need right now? They need some encouragement. They need some empowerment. So I knew I wanted to create that type of show. I just didn't know what kind of show. And literally, I took a nap. I kid you not. I always tell people God gives me my best visions when I'm sleeping. I don't know why, but that's what he does. And so literally, I took a nap, and he whispered in my spirit, hey, Queen Thrive. And then when I woke up from the nap, I heard it again, hey, Queen Thrive. And I was like, is that the name of the show? And he was like, yes. And so, hey, Queen Thrive, we're actually about to go into our 4th season this Thursday, and 3 years into it, and here we are.
Wow. Love it. And that's so encouraging for me because even though I've been in the media world for quite some time, I was always on the publishing. And so this is new, trying to, make sure I keep up with the dates and make sure I'm live, my camera's on point, all that stuff. So when I see people like you that say, oh, they still going and it's 4 years, I'm like, help me. That's talking about resilience right there. That's definitely resilient. I get it. I'm already feeling it. Only been like 4 shows in.
Yeah.
So I commend you. However, I want to get on because this whole platform is about resilience. And when I looked over, a lot of things that you were doing and started following you on social media and seeing that you're a huge advocate for sexual assault. And I don't want to give it away. I want you to be able to share that. But when people experience that, sometimes, they're quiet, they don't say anything, they don't talk about it, but you have chosen to open your mouth and speak about it, and not only just speak about it, but be an advocate for that. Tell us where does that come, where did that start? And what caused you to say, you know what, I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to share about it. I'm going to help other people, get through it. Talk to me.
Yeah, so my journey with sexual assault started almost 11 years ago. So January 27th of this year would actually make 11 years that I was sexually assaulted. And so when I got sexually assaulted, literally 3 days before my birthday, so I'm an Aquarius, January 30th is my birthday. And so when I got sexually assaulted January 27, 2013, I was like a lot of people. I didn't want to talk about it. I was stuck. I felt like it was all my fault. This was a person that I had briefly dated. But my intuition was kind of like, girl, he not it. Don't do it. And so I cut it off after just one date. Well, unfortunately for him, like he didn't like the rejection, right? He then began to stalk me. Little did I know. Literally, like everywhere I showed up in Durham, North Carolina, where I was living at the time, it was like he was there. And so the day that he assaulted me was actually a day that I had got a phone call that a loved one of mine had passed away. And so he called me under the guise of like, oh, I'm calling to check on you kind of thing. Like, hey, big head, you know how people do. And so he could hear the emotions in my voice, and he kind of used that as his leverage to come over to my apartment. And so against my better judgment, I let him come over. Little did I know he was actually already outside, because again, he was stalking me. So he comes over to my apartment, and what was supposed to be a moment of like him consoling me, as he said he was coming to do, really turned into him really telling me how he felt about me rejecting him, and how he did not appreciate that I no longer wanted nothing to do with him after one date. And so something in my gut kind of told me this was really about to go left, right? I didn't know what was going to happen, but something was just like, you got to get this man up out your apartment. And so, I started telling him things to try to get him to get out of my apartment, and he wouldn't budge. And just when I thought he was about to leave, he actually ends up grabbing me and sexually assaulting me right in my living room.
Wow.
And so from that moment, I will be honest, I didn't go straight to the police. And the reason why I didn't go straight to the police is because I'm a Black woman in America. So my first thought was, who's going to believe me, right? Like, who's actually going to believe me? So it took me about 2 days before I actually reported it. And what I got the courage to report it from my spiritual mom, who is actually the mother of a rapist. And so she was encouraging me, to really like do my due diligence and seek out justice through the legal system. So I did that, and I went through the whole process. And I will tell you, the justice system handled me horribly. Like, I mean, from law enforcement all the way to the judge, law enforcement literally asked me 5 times, was I sure that I was raped? Absolutely 5 times. Then when I got in front of the...
Was you sure you were raped? Like,
yeah. Was I absolutely sure? And then when I got in front of the judge just to get a restraining order, he told me to my face that he didn't believe I was raped and that I was a woman scorned, and dismissed the case. And so after that moment, I started going through therapy after, going through the whole process of getting a rape kit and all these things. And I was just like, okay, I'll just start picking up the pieces of my life and trying to put them back together. So probably fast forward about 1.5 years after therapy is when I first started speaking out about sexual assault. And I started doing what they call Take Back the Nights. Take Back the Night is really huge during the month of April, during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And you see it happening all across the United States of America, where it's just an opportunity for survivors to really amplify their voices together. So I started doing that, started speaking here and there. But really what prompted the activism is fast forward to June of last year, June of 2022, right? I get a phone call from the same police department that failed me 9 years after my rape, basically telling me that they tested my rape kit and they wanted to know what would I like to do about it because they have a DNA match. And so I said, well, you always had his DNA. So what are you calling me about this now? And so what I found out was that at the time of my rape, the reason why they hadn't tested the kit is because the law at the time said that if you knew your perpetrator, they weren't going to test. And so I said, well, that's retarded, because we know statistically 1 in 5 women who've been sexually assaulted know their perpetrator. Like, we know that statistically it says that. And so because of what the laws were at the time, they didn't test. It took them 9 years to test because they didn't change the laws. And so now they were going back to all these what they call cold cases, and they decided to start calling people and letting them know that they had tested their rape kit. So when I got that call, for me, I literally paused, I prayed, I said, okay, God, what am I supposed to do in this moment? Because if I have to relive this part of my life, how do I do it on a grander scale than just me? Because if I had to wait 9, I could only imagine how many more people are still waiting, right? Wow. And so a good girlfriend of mine who does gun violence advocacy, she was like, start reaching out to some organizations who are doing the work and really talk to them about how you can work with them. So I did. and I got connected with the federal coalition here in the state of Maryland. And we started doing work together. And from there, kind of the advocacy started to take off because I wanted to be the voice for so many people that are in my position. Unfortunately, in this United States of America, we have over 100,000 untested rape kits.
Wow.
Maryland alone has 7,000 untested rape kits. And so a lot of the work that I do now is having to make those calls. I'm now going back and calling someone 30 years later, 40 years later, 50 years later, and saying, law enforcement messed up and we tested your rape kit. And now what would you like to do? And it's disheartening. I always tell people I feel like that's the true injustice. It's one thing to be sexually violated. It's another thing for the system that is designed to help you to fail you. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Wow, love that. And thank you for being so transparent and sharing all that. I truly appreciate it. Again, definitely a story of resilience. I'm sure there's so much more you can, tell us in this little bit of time that we have. But I want to ask you this because I was following you now on your social platforms, and I see you doing a lot of speaking engagements as well. Talking about this particular topic, because this is a Christian-based platform. Do you find it hard to share this in, like, when you go to maybe churches to share information like this?
Yes and no. So I will say here in the state of Maryland, I will probably say more churches have been more open to the conversation than in other states that I've been able to travel and speak at.
Wow.
I've had the pleasure of being able to talk about it during Denim Day, which is another day in the month of April where we as survivors wear denim. And the reason why we wear denim is because it signifies that it doesn't matter what you wear. Like, what you wear has no bearing on whether or not you get sexually assaulted. And that's kind of one of the biggest misconceptions. So anytime a woman is sexually assaulted, or even a man is sexually assaulted in our society, there's this belief that you wore something and you asked for it, right? And so we know that that's not the case. Like, someone could wear shorts or sweatpants and they can still be sexually assaulted. And so what I have found is that there are churches here locally that are more open to the conversation, but I think that we're starting to kind of see a shift. And I think that there are a lot of other pastors and preachers that are realizing that a lot of their congregation members are dealing with sexual assault, or dealing with that trauma. And so what I would love to see is more of a partnership with people like me that don't have an issue coming in and just educating and talking about it.
Love it, love it. Because again, sometimes we feel, oh, that's too sensitive. Let's leave that on the outside walls and stuff. But like you said, the same people that's in those pews or in those chairs are the very ones that's hurting, and may need to be encouraged to speak out. Because we're seeing a huge rise, even when it comes to mental health, emotional health, all these things, and how it still ties into, I need prayer, a therapist, and a doctor. I need it all. So we're seeing more people understanding that. Oh yeah. But before I give you the floor, again, I would like those of you who have just tuned in. This is Leah Forney. She's a sexual assault thriver, and she's also a podcaster. Please, she's going to share information on how to follow her if you want to book her, all that stuff, after she speaks. Those of you who know how this flows, I'm going to be off the camera soon, and she's going to speak from the heart. So I would encourage you all to go ahead and share. And one thing I do love about her that I've seen, again, I'm kind of stalking her a little bit, following her page now, is that she also brings other people on. Same thing, kind of similar to myself, but I like that because sometimes, when we're, advocates or, speaking up against something, we make it, our platform all about us. So what said, hey, you know what? I know that, I've been sexually assaulted, but I want to prepare a platform for other people. And I like how you said men included too, because men do get sexually assaulted as well. To say, hey, not just through my podcast, but through other means, and say, hey, I'm speaking up, but here's some place that you can speak up as well. So did that come from a dream as well, or just something you said, hey, this is going to fall in line with what I'm doing?
Yeah, I truly believe that if God allows you to go through anything and you survive it, that you kind of have an obligation to bring somebody else through it, right? And so when He's given me this platform, for me, it's not enough for my voice to be the only voice that's being heard, especially when it comes to sexual assault. It is my vision and it is my prayer that I can bring and rally as many survivors together and we amplify together. One thing that I have learned doing the work that I do is that really what's missing from the conversation is a survivor's voice. And so one of the things that I advocate for when I'm talking to legislation, when I'm talking to law enforcement, is including them in the conversation, because it's one thing that statistics show us, right? It's one thing to get all this data and all that information, but it's nothing like hearing it directly from someone who's experienced it. And I feel like that is what's so powerful about what God is allowing me to do, is that He's allowing me to create a space and a place and a platform, not just through speaking. I dibble and dabble in documentaries as well. I'm getting ready to do another one, but really creating that space where, especially for marginalized communities and Black and brown boys and girls that look like me, that they have that outlet to finally say, this too happened to me. Because too many of us have suffered in silence. And I've been on plenty of stages where I've walked off the stage and someone has said, you have shared my story, because
Wow.
that is me. And so if that's my story and you identify, then how can I help you share yours so that other people can see that they too are not alone on this journey, and that they have a sisterhood and they have a brotherhood of people that are with them on the journey to really going from, like I call, survivor to thriver. So yeah.
Love it. And one quick question, and I'm a mosey on off to the virtual backstage and give you the floor. But I want to get back to what you were saying earlier about sharing your story. And I keep going here because it's so important about just sharing. That's why Sheneè shares. But embarrassment. Was there a moment of, embarrassment, maybe among your family, friends, anybody who found out, or saying, like the police said? I know you said the police said didn't believe you. Was it on the other end as well, with people close to you? Did all that stuff, take place?
Yeah, for me, it was a lot of embarrassment. Because for the first thing I thought was I let him in my house, right? So for me, I went through a lot of shame. I went through a lot of guilt. It actually took my therapist to kind of help me walk through that moment in my life, because not only was I beating myself up and blaming myself, but I was also trying other ways to like numb it. So at that time, I was like drinking very heavily, because I didn't want to deal with the pain of what I had experienced. I was really beating myself up. And so my therapist was actually the one that kind of really helped me understand that I didn't have to carry guilt or shame because of what happened to me. And so I had to work through that. I definitely struggled for a while. My family actually, I didn't tell them until like a year and a half after everything, because I just didn't know how to tell them. I didn't know how to come out and say that I had been sexually assaulted. And at the time that I did tell them, I was actually writing my very first book where I talk about my sexual assault. And so before the book came out, I was like, well, I think this is the time to have this conversation. So that's literally how that went. Like, I didn't tell them right off the grip. I waited until I was ready to tell. And then I love that they supported me, and they still support me to this day. Like, they are absolutely proud of me for just the work that I'm doing and how I've taken my pain and I've turned it into power. And so that's the motivation I have to keep going.
I love it. Pain into power. I've heard three different things: pain into power and pain into purpose. And there was another one that someone said. I'm loving all these slogans that's been popping up in this in this broadcast. I'm gonna add that to the repertoire too. But I am going to step aside, everyone. I'm like, Sheneè, when she's having her moment, she got so much to say. And I'm gonna allow you to just speak freely. Encourage anybody who is, just whatever's on your heart. Okay. There are so many people, especially now, and I get it all the time, saying, I'm about to throw in a towel. I don't know how long I can do this, whatever that is, and just encourage them in this moment. So I'm gonna say, see you later. Got 2-3 minutes, and I will come back with you all in the food. Ladies and gentlemen, Leah Forney. And guess what? She's the visibility activator. I love it. I love it.
Listen, thank you so much, Sheneè, for this opportunity. I don't take moments like this lightly. And so I'm just going to go with what I hear the Holy Spirit say. And so for someone who is listening right now, who may feel stuck, who may feel as if they can't make it beyond their point of pain, their beyond their point of trauma, or wherever they are in their moment, I want you to know that God sees you, God hears you, and He hasn't forgotten about you. One of the things that the enemy loves to do is make us believe that where we are is where we're going to stay. And so one of the things that I want to encourage you today is that know that you have survived 100% of the worst things that could ever happen to you. And so 2024 is the year that you now thrive through 100% of the best days that happen to you. And so when you find yourself in that moment of darkness, when you find yourself in that moment of frustration and discouragement and stuck, I want you to remind yourself that you have survived 100% of the worst things that could ever happen to you. And so you're still here. And because you're still here, God still has a plan. God still has a vision. God still has purpose on your life. And so I just want to encourage someone today, wherever you are, to know that God sees you, God hears you, and He has not forgotten about you. He loves you. He is waiting with tiptoeing expectation for you to just come to Him so that He can show you exactly the reasons why you are here. They always say that the day that you discover your purpose is really the best day of your life. And so I'm praying that 2024 is the year that God helps you to discover your purpose. Because here's what I know to be true. You are purpose. You were born with a purpose, on purpose. Okay. And so now it's just time for you to tap into that. So I love each and every one of you. I pray that this time that I've been with you guys has been a blessing and that you have gotten something out of it. And remember, you have survived 100% of the worst things that could ever happen to you. So now it's time for you to thrive through 100% of the best days that ever happen to you. Thank you again, Shenee. I appreciate you so much, sis.
I appreciate you too. And woo, we got amen from Changed Minister. He's another podcaster. Hello, sir. Amen. And powerful and encouraging. My cousin is on here. Yes, and amen. My big cousin, Shadana. And then we got Purpose. All right. And then Miss Ashley said, thank you for sharing your story. Anybody else have anything to say before we transition to my next guest? I love this. And I want to ask you in front of everybody. I do it to everyone. I hope we have her again as the co-host. But anyway, I'll just throw that out there. I'll just throw
Listen, let's do it.
We'll talk. We will talk. But before we bring on our next guest, Leah, please tell them how we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so listen, you can find me on all the social media platforms, Leah M. Forney. I'm on all of them. And then you can always shoot me a message. Go to my website, www.leahmforney.com. I am always happy to connect. And if you need someone to come and speak at any of your events, listen, I'm your girl. There's a tab right on my website where you can just shoot me the information about your next event. And I would love to come over and speak and share with your people. So that's how you can find me.
Thank you so much again. Hope to see you again soon. I am still following you. Like I said, I'm not gonna say fan. I'm a huge supporter. If that makes sense. I support you. I support you. Got some more comments. I'm proud of you, sis. Keep being great. Love it. Uh-oh. And she put my other partner, put it in chat for everybody again. So you just click on that link. Thank you, Dr. Linda. All right. So we're going to now bring on Amy Loper. What I'm going to do first is just pay attention to the screen for a second. And then my next guest will be appearing like, wow, let's go. All right. And I'm like, actually, if you want to stay on, it's up to you. If not, you can go ahead. And I know you got other things to do, but if you don't, you want to hang around, you're more than welcome. But you can just let me know in a few. All right. Everyone, again, please, if you're just tuning in, we just spoke to Leah Forney, and we are going to go and talk to Amy, who, those of you who've been following me for a while, you probably seen her in newsletters when I had his favor, but she got a little twist today. We're not going to talk nothing about the magazine. We're focusing on her and the things that she has been doing. So keep sharing and continue to put stuff in chat. And if Leah wants to join in, she's more than welcome. But until then, pay attention to your screen for a second. Wow, wow, wow. I have my heart, one of my hearts. I got a lot of hearts. Amy, it's so wonderful to see you. It's been forever.
It's been too long.
Too long. You all like, why is she smiling from cheek to cheek, ear to ear? Because again, she was actually one of my first contributing writers when I had the magazine, and then she helped out with the newsletter, and then she became content editor of the men's magazine. So we have a little history here. So I'm excited. I love when family comes on because but again, we're not talking about that. We are talking about resilience. We're going to talk about all the things that she has going on. And again, she's going to take over, okay, for a few minutes at the end and just pour into you all. Those of you who are just tuning in, again, this is Sheneè Shares Live. Somebody said, love that girl. Okay. All right. And
you can tell them the last name there. That's my husband.
Oh, that is Tim. Oh, wow. There we go.
Yeah.
That is. Tim. Oh, that is. Hi, Tim. I just realized that. All right. Well, before I give you the platform, Amy, talk to us. It's been a minute that you've been on just talking to his favor and Sheneè Shares crew. But what have you been up to? What have you been up to?
Oh, what have I not been up to? I am publishing a book. It's coming out February the 6th.
Congratulations.
And I'm super excited about it. Let me tell you, just talking about resilience, I started writing this book in 2007. Pieces of it were written in 2007. And it has taken this long for me to get here. And that takes some resilience, because you surely get knocked down in the publishing game. It's a challenge. And but the topic of my book, the name of my book is Constant Companion. And the topic of my book is developing an intimate, close, connected, conversational relationship with the Lord. And it is through that we are actually able to be resilient. That is where resilience comes from. Mm-hmm. And so when we are knocked down by whatever it is, and I just was so touched by Leah's testimony. My goodness.
Yes.
The only thing that has brought her back up is her relationship with the Lord. You heard her talking to him and hearing from him. And that's what's going to bring you through whatever it is that you're going through.
Well, I hope you don't mind, because actually she would actually like to join us. So I'm gonna bring her back on stage, and maybe so you're gonna get questions from two people that like to interview. So
I think we can handle it. We'll see.
I hope you're ready. Thank you for joining us again. She said, I might want to ask some questions. Bring me back on. I love it. But Amy, you also are very visible when it comes to even YouTube. And I want to talk about that because it's not, I know we have our book coming out. I said our. Yeah. I know we have the book coming out that you've been working on, but you are so diligent when it comes to making sure that you are, and I've known this for quite some time, very diligent in making sure that, your words are getting out there, what the Holy Spirit is sharing with you, and then you share with others. How are you able to, keep up with that? And I want to ask it because sometimes, some of us, we fall off, we may skip a day or, we might say, oh, I don't feel like a day, but you are so diligent in that area. And I love that about you. Like, you don't skip a beat. I'm like, how does she do it? But you don't have to share all your secrets, but where, but how are you like handling that? That's so awesome.
I think one of the foundational things of that is something that Leah touched on, where she said, when you go through something and God brings you through it and you're still here, share it with somebody else to get them through. And I've been through abusive relationships, an abusive marriage. I've been through chronic illness, or I'm still in chronic illness. I've had those things happen to me. Some of us have had marriage issues or children going crazy off. All of those things that can come at you in life. The reason I'm still here is the Lord, and I know that there were times in my life where it could have gone either way, and I know that it is only because I have continued to follow Him, and He's continued to carry me, that I am able to even desire to help somebody else
Wow.
have that connection with the Lord, have them know Him like I've come to know Him, so that they have something to cling to when the storm happens, so that they have a place to run when they're feeling so alone and nobody around them is listening to them, nobody around them believes their story. They have someone who knows it inside and out, and He
Love
is
it.
there for them.
I love that. And you have a tag too. I was applauding Leah earlier about visibility activate, but I see something over there too. I like. Well, I'm loving all these tags, and I'm gonna tell you why. No offense to anybody who uses coach, but you know it's so saturated right now. So when I see other things, I love. So we got constant companion. Talk, Amy. I love that too. Where did that come from? How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, that is the title of the book that's about to come out. And it came from the fact that just the realization that God is never leaving. He's never forsaking you.
Ooh,
Even in the middle of what you're going through, He is there. But even through the mundane, He's there. Even through the day in, day out boring stuff, doing the laundry and the dishes, He's still there. And He is willing to commune with you. He's willing to companion you as you do either the hard stuff or the easy stuff, the fun stuff. He's definitely there in the fun stuff too. He wants to celebrate with you. And He's there in the just plain ordinary, boring stuff as well. He is your constant companion, no matter what's going on.
love it. Leah, you have anything for Miss Amy at the moment? She's like,
Listen, I was over here just like, girl, you preaching. That's what I was thinking. Like, because as you were talking, I can relate to just that title. And I love that you said that He's there even in the mundane stuff, right? Because I think a lot of times we want to look for God in the grand things, or we want to look for God in when our pain, but sometimes He's just there when you're washing dishes, so I love that. And so really I want to know a little bit more about your author journey and kind of what inspired more into the constant companion. Like, talk to us about, because I know, knowing God, you didn't just wake up and say, I'm gonna write a book. He was like nudging a little bit. So talk to us about that journey.
Gladly. It is an odd journey because you talk to authors sometimes, or you hear authors talk, and they're like, oh, I always knew I was a writer. I was a writer. I had diaries and journals when I was like 8 years old. I'm like, no, not for me. In my world, I had one aspiration as a child, and that was to preach. And that kind of went sideways when I found out, well, when I was told, it's not the truth, but I was told girls don't do that. And so that went into like, well, then I don't know what my purpose is. And I was a kid who barely was trying to get through school. I wasn't really trying, especially in my elementary years. I really did not care. I just wanted to get through and be done. I struggled at times with school and with writing. If the teacher said, okay, I want you to write a 40-word essay, I was like, 40 words? I can add very, very, very in there, and try to bump up my word count. I was not a writer. And suddenly a situation presented itself, and I was frustrated that I couldn't find a certain type of book. And a fellow mom turned to me and said, well, I guess you should write it. And I was like, oh, no. But it would not leave me alone. When the Holy Spirit just will not leave you alone about. And so I did. I wrote 3 books and self-published them. They're of a completely different genre. But it was a surprise to me. And I was like, I don't really like writing. It takes so much time. I would just rather preach. And lo and behold, over the last, I guess, 20 years, I have grown to love writing so much that even if I never sold a book, I would continue writing because it is a passion for me now. It is a place where I find my creativity and I feel like the Lord speaks to and through me. And that's a real blessing. So my writer journey is atypical. It's not normal. But I am constantly surprised at how much I love writing and how much
Wow.
the Lord has blessed me in it. So,
And I would have never known that. Like I said, I met you through, you being
yeah,
a contributing writer for the magazine. So I'm actually over here in awe. Like, what? She don't like writing?
and
And you
you
even,
know,
and even ended up being one of the editors. So I'm like, it doesn't add up. But again, it goes to show you don't know people's journey unless they open their mouth and say something. I would never
seriously,
thought that you would. No, that was far from my mind. Okay, I thought you was that little girl in school and won all the writing contests and stuff.
nope.
But, but I do want to go over to chat because you actually just encouraged someone. She said, "Thank you for sharing that he is always with me," because she's going through some things, and I am going through some. Let me start over. Okay. Thank you for sharing that he is always with me because going through what I am going through, sometimes I feel so alone. Thank you. We definitely bring people on to encourage those. Again, we just don't know what other people are
Yeah.
going through. Other people says, and someone else said who I don't know. Amy's story is amazing. Good. Love it. Again, any feedback, we welcome it. We will share it. Let our guests know that you are following what they're saying, or if it's touchy, like Miss Laverne. So Miss Laverne, we will definitely keep you in prayer for whatever that is. You can reach out to Amy or Leah if you want to. That's what they are here for. But I want to get back to talk about, my big topic now is resilience. You shared a lot about being, your resiliency as an author. But there's something you shared with me, and I don't know, I'm not sure if you want to share, but you shared something to me a long time ago. And I remember asking you one day, can you talk about it? So if you want to, the floor is here, but if you don't, just say not right now, Sheneè. That's up to you. So I'm sure you know what I'm referring to, your teenage experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I did not know that, and I wanted you to share because I know a certain person that's watching right now, and I think that would encourage them to hear you talk about that. Again, when you see somebody on the surface, you really don't know everything that they've gone through. So if you don't mind sharing it, if not, then like I said, we can move forward. It's up to you.
I don't mind at all. In fact, I have a manuscript written that includes a large part of this story. So I'm waiting on that one to be published, but it will be published someday. And so no, I'm an open book. So let me, how do I begin this story? I grew up really feeling out of place, that alone person that doesn't fit, that isn't good enough for anything. And it put me in that place of insecurity where I had a really hard time saying no to people. And that's what insecurity does, right? It shames you into saying yes to things that you would ordinarily not say yes to. And so I ended up in a relationship when I was a teenager, an early teenager. I was 14 when the relationship began. And it quickly turned into a sexual relationship. And I got pregnant and married promptly. And that, as soon as, well, a little bit before I got pregnant, but especially when I got pregnant, that relationship exploded into abuse. And it had been kind of verbal before, but then it just turned physical when I got pregnant. So, and I still married him. And it only got worse. Abuse doesn't dwindle, generally speaking. It kind of multiplies, it kind of grows. And so I ended up, by the time we had been married a year, he had threatened my life. He had threatened other people in my life. We got separated after about a year, and he started to threaten to kill the baby, kill me, kill my. I mean, he was just out out there. And so eventually, how I got out of that was turning my life over to God. Because the truth is, I wanted control of my life. I saw myself as somebody who did not deserve love. And so I was willing to do anything for love. And so I said, I was a Christian. And I said basically to God, I said, you screwed up on me.
Woo.
So I'm going to go over here and fix that. You stay here. I'll be back. And that was my thinking at that time. So I did. I ran off and did my own thing and ruined my life at the time. And then I did come back to God because I had ruined everything. I had detonated a bomb in my life. And it took time to heal from all of that trauma. It took time to heal to the place where I could hear God's voice over the voices that had been spoken to me throughout my childhood, but then throughout that abusive marriage. So it took time to heal all those things, but mostly it took me being in the presence of God. And I would not be here if it weren't for the presence of God healing me. Because when you get into the presence of God, there's something that happens. He's able to do surgery. He's able to knit back together what has been torn apart. And that's what he did for me. That's my story, a little bit of my story of resilience. That's my little bit of story of coming back from the brink.
I love that. And that's why I wanted to share, because it's really sits very close to me in regards to that, because growing up in a Christian home, when I got released, oh my goodness, I followed exactly what the Bible said. Do not be lukewarm. So I said, okay, he said, if you're not going to do it, do it. So I did the total opposite. I was like, at least I'm being obedient. Okay. And I can totally relate to that, because it was like, but in the back of my mind, I knew what was right. Like, I even had one person tell me, you don't fit here. Like, what's going on? It don't make sense. Like, you don't belong here, but I had to prove something. But again, same thing, just being me, I was more on the promiscuous end, and just started wilding out. So again, I truly appreciate you sharing that. And I'm going back and forth, like, should I ask her to share it? But I'm glad you did, because I said certain people I know need to hear that, because a lot of times, childhood things goes over to our adulthood, and we're still dealing with that. Some people still holding on, or it's affecting what they're doing even now in their adulthood, because of what happened in their childhood. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Leah, you got anything else from a lady?
Listen, as you were talking, I was like, I'm always in awe of how strategic God moves, where he can place three women from three different walks of life with very similar paths. Because I was like, girl, that's my story. I was the teenage girl. So I'm just sitting here in awe of God. And I love that you said that you just ran back to him. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible and stories in the Bible is the story of the prodigal son, because I love the part where he says the father was waiting for him. And I always think that's how God is with us. Like, you could go, like you said, Sheen. I was like that at 17 when my grandmother was like, well, I ain't forcing you to go to church no more. Okay, no problem. I'm going to go live my life. But then it came a time where I had to go back, and he was waiting, and he didn't judge me, and he didn't beat me up, and he didn't remind me of all the things I didn't do and how I strayed. And so thank you for that, because that was such an encouraging reminder for me that, like, no matter where you are in your life, and even if you veer off the path, God is still waiting for you, just like that father was waiting for his son to come back home. And I feel like that's something someone so needs to hear tonight. So thank you for that.
Yes, he's waiting with open arms and a celebration for you. He is waiting to celebrate you coming home.
Love it. And before we give you the stage, I want you to, I feel like encouraging some parents, because being a parent and a grandparent as well, Amy, and going through everything that you've gone through, sometimes, and I know, parents deal with this, me being a parent myself, it's like, do I share those things, with my children? Is there going to be shame and everything? Talk to us about, is there a moment where, you sat down and said, hey, Johnny, Sally, Jesse, Raphael, I don't know all your kids' names, but, this is what mommy has been through. This is what she overcome. Or, do you feel it's important to, at a certain time to share that with them? Or, when they start going through things, being able to relate to them. I think that's very important, because especially as parents, sometimes we feel like, are they too young to know this part of me? And you're helping me out too, because I have a 13-year-old now, and I'm trying to, like, what do I tell her? What don't I tell her? Or do I keep it to myself, let them figure out their own, like, just briefly, just share how to operate that when it comes to, children, and even your grandchildren.
Well, it's interesting for me because I had a child, so it was a little obvious, and I'm a very young mom, so it's a little obvious. And so I didn't really have a choice, like, do I tell them, do I not? But at the same time, I really wanted to give them a balanced picture of the toll it took on me and God's redemption, because you don't want to erase either one. You don't want to tell them it's all been horrible and leave out what God has done, but you don't want to tell them that God can fix anything and you get off scot-free. There has been price to pay along the way. There has been pain. There has been trauma that's needed deep healing. And that's painful to go through. I would have avoided it if I could have. I would have avoided the marriage and not gotten married and not endured that abuse. And also at the same time with dealing with an abusive past spouse, that is the father biologically of one of my kids, it became important to really do my best to let her know that that shame is not on her, that his sin is not on her, my sin is not on her, and that I am so grateful for her. Like if I would never go back and change things, because that would mean not having her, and she is a piece of me. She's like my other half, she's a very big part of me, and I could never undo that. And so it became very important to try my best to convince her not only how loved she was, but of how whatever happened there, it's not on you. It has nothing to do with you. You don't have to even carry the generational curses that may have been on one side or the other that brought those things together. You don't have to carry that. That is not yours. And we break it in Jesus' name. So that was really the most important thing.
Love it. Love it. So I am now, myself and Leah, are going to exit to the virtual backstage and give you the platform just a couple minutes to share whatever is on your heart to our audience, encourage them just to move forward, as we always say, and just have that heart of resilience. No matter what happens, just keep moving. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you all Amy Loper, my girl, my other heart. Haven't seen in a while, so tune in, and then we'll be back in a few minutes.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to let you know, like Laverne was feeling, you are not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone in your struggle. You are not alone in the particular pains that you're feeling. The Lord is with you. Even if you have nobody to come alongside you and carry you, which I really hope you do, I want you to know that the Lord is there with you. And I want to encourage you, because so often when we feel alone, we tend to run after different things that we think will fill the gap, fill the need, fill the lack that we're experiencing. But God wants us to run to him. All of our lack is meant to be filled by him. So when I am struggling with my past, I need to run to him. And taken the burden off as far as sin goes, but he can also take away the burden of the trauma. He will take all that for you as well. So if I need to run to him when I'm dealing with the chronic illness that I deal with, when I just can't do the things that I want to do and things are a struggle for me, I need to lean into him and let him carry me, let him show me how to live the life that I'm living while I'm still trusting that he's going to heal me. When I'm struggling with relationship issues or family issues or whatever it may be, he is there for me. I don't need to run to anything else. I don't need to find fulfillment and fill the lack with something human or something earthly, because it'll fill for a little while, but it really doesn't do the trick. I need to fill everything with God. I need to run to him and let him be my source. And I know that some people all of us have had periods in our life where we are dry. We're having a dry season. We're having a season where things are just difficult. And the I would say the path of my heart is hardened, um, because if you think about the parable of the seed, where Jesus talked about the different places where the seed goes, sometimes the path gets hardened, and the seed of the word of God that we're seeking his word, just doesn't land, because we need to till that up and we need to let the Lord work on us to soften that ground so that he can sow into us. He can speak his word and it can actually be transformative in our life. The Lord wants to meet you. The Lord wants to be with you. The Lord wants to speak to you and direct your life and to carry you through the hard things. He wants to be with you. And so I would just invite you to turn into him today. Thanks, Sheneè.
Thank you, Amy. I see Leah over there. She has said a lot of things to say as well. Those of you who are just tuning in, please, you definitely need to catch the replay of this. Okay, if you're just tuning, I see some people just logged in. Start from the beginning on to now. Okay, we had just heard from Amy, and earlier we heard from Leah. I'm first name basis now. But I'm just like overwhelmed right now. Again, these two wonderful women have touched on things that I've dealt with, and it's just, I love it. But before we end tonight, I would just like Amy to let you know how to get in touch with her. Again, her book you can actually pre-order, right, Amy?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, the actual release date is February the 6th, but it's on Amazon. You can go get it. It's called Constant Companion. You just have to make sure you spell my first name right, which is AMI. And I really pray that that's a blessing to you, that you can learn to come to a new level in your relationship with the Lord and hearing from him and letting him speak into your life and direct your life, because he has a better way of doing it than we do.
Yes.
And yeah, you have my web address up there. Thank you. That's amyloper.com. And I could be found on all the social sites under the same name.
Thank you again, Amy. And we see some people put out my other partner put it in chat for everyone, and so did Leah. Thank you. So you can just click on the link there. We truly appreciate it. So before I say goodbye, I just want you all again to continue to share. Next week, you have 2 more dynamic guests with us, and we want you to just join us. All right. I love the interaction when it comes to this particular platform or any other platform. That's why I have people on here. We got other podcasters out there. Support people who are doing positive things and giving a platform for people to speak and encourage you. And also not just, quote unquote, being a Christian, just being a human and just loving on people. Okay. I just hope we can get away from, Christians just doing Christians. No, so many other people out there that we can touch. And, I just love these 2 individuals that they were able to be open and share, okay, their hearts with us. So before I bid adieu, just remember the one thing that you all know, that resiliency is key. In order to fulfill your purpose, in order to move forward, you have to ensure that you are resilient. I want to encourage you all to continue on your resilient journey, whether you fall sideways, to the left or the right, just know that you have the ability to bounce back. With Christ, all things are possible. I don't care what you go through. Resiliency is key. Other than that, continue to enjoy the rest of your evening, your morning, or your afternoon, whenever you decide to watch this for the 15th time. Hint, hint. And please follow us on all social media platforms, Sheneè Shares Live. I would appreciate it if you also check my website to see who else will be coming in the next few weeks. And we're going to continue with this. All right. Have a good one and stay tuned to your screen.
So bad seeing her being put in isolation. I have my psychology degree. She just kept screaming. My coach license. There's nothing I can do to trainer, and I teach managing stress. But here it is. I end up in a place more intimate than I could ever imagine. I don't think I can't shake it. This. Just can't. There's no future. So that I don't want to. What is going on with me? I just cannot seem to live. That food used to make me hate having sex. I'm insecure. Right. Yeah. With a female at 5 o'clock in the morning. How does that make me insecure?